Chapter 32. It's got the locked tomb with the broken chains, or slightly broken chains. Alina met them at a little nondescript door out of the oblong. Paul had supported the awful old man. He had demanded his rights as seneschal, and they had met the corpse prince who was pacing at the doorway. Pierre had wrapped Nona in one of the big black cloaks, which were much warmer than they looked, but smelled as old as the room, sort of dusty and fusty and mildewy. But she was finding she had to smell quite consciously now to make her brain understand what she was trying to do. It was like having your feet slip off the pedals of a bicycle. A glamine lantern held high led them down a long winding passage. She took endless back-and-forth turns until, at one last door, she stopped. She turned off the lantern and plunged them into a big, black, icy darkness. Pierre said, "We're going in blind?" "There's no light of electric or fat in this place," croaked out the old man. "There is no light but that which was given to us, not before the rock in the tomb. This is the place you should not be traveling. None of us but the daughter and her cavalier." Nona could make out nothing in the darkness, but the corpse prince's voice was unmistakable. "The reverend daughter has no cavalier living." There was a metal sound. The door opened, and Nona was carried over the threshold into a big empty void. The air changed, cold as ice, black and blue as paint. Everyone's feet suddenly made a big squelch. A light flickered on. I feel like I'm getting an eyelash in my eye. A tall, bright lantern with a huge glowing bulb within. They were standing in a huge room, a cathedral cave, with a great roundish cold stone rock placed at what was obviously the mouth of a tunnel leading away. A rock the size and height of a big car, and probably the weight of multiple cars. And standing before the rock, a lantern by one booted foot, was Crown. How? How did you get there? Nona's eyes had been tricked by the light. It wasn't Crown. It was someone exactly... fucking Ianthe! Exactly Crown's height. Someone with Crown's face, but like someone had washed her in hot water and soaked the color out. A Crown who gangled without any of Crown's lovely curvy softnesses or bignesses. A wretched, white Crown. A Crown with an arm that was all bone. All bones, metal-shod bones, real moving bones, with bony gold fingers holding a tiny pinpoint of orange light. Nona realized it was really her arm, that it was a cigarette. Pierre startled forward, but there was another squelch. They had all stepped into a soft, jammy yellow field of what looked like cannelline, but more transparent. And Pierre was stuck fast. Paul stuck fast, and Crux with them, and Aglamini stuck fast, and the corpse prince. "How'd you get here before me?" she demanded. "Didn't. Got here after," said the thing, and it had Crown's voice, too, the same silvery musical sweetness of Crown's, but not as nice. "I simply looked for any signs of God and slithered downward. Easy pappy." The fuck is that supposed to mean? This place is like a neon sign saying John Gaius was here, and now, I am afraid, I am here to scotch all your plans. "Don't move, please, Hectus," they suggested silkily. Paul had moved to support the horrifying old man. The yellow stuff was creeping up both of their ankles, holding them fast. "I don't know what you are yet, but you know what I am, so stay put, Sext." "It's Paul," said Paul. "I respect that, but can't admire it," said the new person, taking a long drag. Paul said, "This is interesting stuff underfoot, Tridentarius. What is it?" "Adipose fat and mucous membrane," said the not Crown modestly. "It's my own recipe." "Oh my God, Ianthe, barf," said the corpse prince. Adipose makes me think of Doctor Who all the time. The only person not stuck in this mix was Nona, who was being carried, but the field spread out far enough in front of them that Nona, who did not think she could walk anyway, would probably get one step before sticking and falling over. Pierre shifted Nona to her other hip. The eyes of that pale mirror face fell on them, and Pierre said, "So, what, John sent you?" The person, Ianthe, the real Ianthe Nibirius after all, not the lovely chin corpse with the perfect hair, crossed over to them, lit from behind by the electric light. Up close she had skin like Honesty's, if Honesty had been put in a cave for maybe 1,000,000 years. Or perhaps like Noodle's skin when you parted the crimped, curdly fur at the back of his neck. "Who are you really?" she asked, sounding genuinely curious. "You had me fooled that you were the saint of duty with bits missing. I wasn't paying attention." "Number 7 got him. I'm his leftover cavalier parts. Pirdve." "Does that happen normally?" "No." "Phew," said Ianthe, and then finally, No, John Gaius didn't send me." She came to stand in front of Kyriana Gaia, and they stared at each other evenly and coldly, one hand on the handles of the rapiers each carried on their hip. For Ianthe Nibirius carried a rapier too, worn on a jeweled belt atop her beautiful leather breeches. with a parchment-colored shirt all swirled over by the softest-looking white material Nona had ever seen. It was like a rainbow had been put in the fridge, then woven into fabric. Wait, why in the fridge? What does that mean? Cape, I'm assuming. It settled over Ianthe Nibirius' shoulders like a mist. It was so beautiful. She stood there before the corpse prince, looking barely more alive than Kiriona was. Pyrrha said lowly, "Don't do anything stupid, kid." "Are you ever too late to come into my life and say that?" said Kiriona. Ianthe, ignoring this interchange, said merely, "Prince Kiriona Gaia." "Prince Ianthe Nibirius," said her opposite, "and can you not fucking smoke in here?" "It's a filthy habit," admitted the other prince. "I didn't think you cared, though." The clouds are pretty. "I don't, but there's like a million fire detectors." In a show of obsequious obedience, rolling her eyes, Ianthe took her gold finger bones and stubbed at the cigarette on her real, thin flesh hand, then tossed the discarded butt over her shoulder, where it smoldered on the stones. Crux started to make a noise like a tea kettle filled with soup. Why soup? Ianthe ignored him. A terrible hunger had sharpened her like a knife. "Ooh. Did you bring my sister?" "Upstairs," the corpse prince, and thumbed vaguely somewhere over her shoulder. "You can pick her up whenever. She came on her own. I didn't have to use my attraction or my charm." "You don't have either. God, it's like she wants me to catch her," marveled Ianthe. "That ill-shampooed slut." "6 house bigwigs are up there, too. Don't know if we want 'em," said the corpse prince laconically. "The rest of the house is parked outside the Ur system. Should be easy enough to sweep 'em up. Not that we've got the people. Anyway, I don't think Dad even wants them. They'd only depress him." It had slowly dawned on Nona, by the look of everyone else caught in the yellow muck. It was dawning on them too, that this conversation was not being carried out in a way anyone had expected. Ianthe reached out. Her sleeve fell away from her wrist, and Nona saw a strange fat bracelet ringing her bony wrist. Braided, hyper-colored cord in shades that were somehow even uglier than the cords she had seen before, in her class, and on the wrist of friendship bracelets! She fairly shouted, "They're wearing friendship bracelets!" Ianthe grasped Kiriona's wrist, and Kiriona pulled free of the sticky yellow muck as easily and as neatly as if it were dust. They stood there, hands clasping each other's wrists, in their beautiful polished boots and their jeweled white swords. A matched pair of princes, one dead and one barely looking better. "I'm sure the bracelets mean something, but I can't. They tapped each other on their knuckles, did something complicated with their thumbs, and stood angled toward each other, easy and familiar, as though they had stood beside each other a million times. Paul said quietly, "Harrowhark's body is nearly dead. Are you going to get us inside the tomb or not?" Long straps of that sticky, taffy, textured fat snapped out and wrapped around Nona's ankles. She was jerked out of Pyrrha's arms, rolled up in a thick wad of it, and rolled over and over, nauseated and panicked, until she came to a stop right beside that polished boot. It shone so highly that Nona could see her face in it, and the distorted reflection looked terrible. A blue-lipped, haggard version of herself that she had never known. The face of the other girl, maybe, not hers. A face distorted with fear. The fat dissolved, leaving nothing but a weird, moist feeling on the insides of her wrists. Ianthe was saying, "I'm simply doing exactly what I think Harry would want me to do. Harry adores this ghastly old rock and its ghastly old inhabitant. Harry would be the first to say, 'No, I'm not worth it. Leave it shut.' Don't you think, Ninth?" "I try not to," said Kiriona modestly. Both Ianthe and Kiriona briefly fell about laughing. They slapped each other's shoulders in what seemed to be genuine mirth. Nona rolled an eye desperately toward Pyrrha and Paul, and the two ancients, Pyrrha and Paul, were still as statues. "Good to see you," said Ianthe quite kindly to Kiriona. "Yeah, same," said Kiriona with infectious good cheer. "Anyway, let's open the tomb and get out of here." For a moment, Ianthe kept laughing, and then she said, "Wait, what?" "The tomb's opening now," said Kiriona. "You can't possibly be Ninth!" For Kiriona had taken a few steps backward, away from Nona, in no danger of tripping over her. Bathed in the yellow glow of the electric light reflecting off the fat, she drew her sword with an oily rattle, and Ianthe drew hers. Nona stared, transfixed, at the edges of their swords. Ianthe said, "You little three-way double-crosser!" "I haven't double-crossed anybody, let alone 3 times, said Kiriona. "You've double-crossed God, for sure." Kiriona said, "What? John sent me, you over-gilded doorknob!" Pyrrha said, "Like hell he did." "My sentiments exactly expressed," said Ianthe. "No, he did," said the corpse prince. "I didn't sneak onto that ship for my health. Don't you see? This is my chance. We go in there, we open up the tomb, I take down whatever's inside, Electo, Annabelle, I don't care, whatever her name is. Boom, we're done. Dad won't be immortal anymore. But he says he doesn't care about that, and I believe him, Tridentarius. I'll be his cavalier. I'm the first. Hell, I'm his child and heir. Isn't this the neatest way? Are you going to help me or not? I don't think that's true, but that's just me. I think spite, maybe, and Harrow. Harrow is more important than all of this put together. Ianthe had withdrawn. Even from below, Nona could see the horror and disgust writ large on her face. It had a lot to do with the chin. Oh my god, she said softly. You can't believe that. You're very stupid when you want to be gonad, but you can't believe that. You know he's never fully recovered. Yes, said Ianthe. Oh, I know. From what? Oh my god. I love that we're still having conversations that, like, we don't know most of the context for. If we weren't around, I don't know what he'd do. I do, said Ianthe, exactly the same thing he's doing right now without trying to hide it, drowning his sorrows in whatever or whoever comes to hand. Do you know who I saw creeping out of his bedroom the other day? Grand Admiral Sir Pete, and I shit you not. Oh, God, yuck, said Cariona, looking highly diverted. That's sick. Following a grand cavalcade of court officials, ensigns, etc. Yeah, but Sir Pete is old. That's your problem? Cariona, you fat-headed wreck. John's older than our recorded time, said Ianthe. Yeah, but he doesn't look it, does he? Retorted Cariona. Sarpedon's like in his 50s, 60s. It's nasty. They should know how it looks. It looks sus. Anyway, that's my dad. Also, sus is written with 3 S's. You haven't had to live through an atom of the worst of it, said Ianthe. You are an exasperating child and a moron. Stop making me argue with you. The important part of this, you gibbering bozo, is that the moment the door opens, you're not killing the monster inside. Give me 5 minutes. You're not becoming his cavalier. You're not fixing anything. You're signing our doom, snapped Ianthe. He gets her back. You don't know what he'll become. You'll have no idea, and you've deluded yourself into believing him, and he's just tricking you. You know that, don't you? Are you trying to kid yourself? Is this about Harry, after all? There was a deep, indrawn breath. Ianthe laughed and said, You don't have to breathe, you know. You're so goddamn boring when you talk about Harrow Hark, so don't, said Cariona. Listen to you, big lady of the first. Leave Harrow to die. Don't open a tomb. Nah. What'd you come here for? Stop playing the good son. You don't give a shit about anything except your own plans, you know. Your sister's upstairs. Take her and go. Let me fight this thing and win or die trying. Who cares? You let that monster out of its box, said Ianthe, and you start us down a path nobody can save us from. If God truly wants her out, if teacher set this all up, if he wants her? Wants her? He told me to kill her. He said make it quick, but kill her. Said me, with my blood, could do it. Said me with my blood. I was the only one. Ianthe rounded on the corpse prince, and she gave her a ringing slap straight through the face. Cariona did not stagger. Oh, I didn't realize it was going to get so dark. Right, it's candlelight time again. My apologies. Oh, good God. Everything's happening. He loves her, Ianthe howled. John loves Electo. John needs Electo. Without that piece of goddamn fridge meat, he's nothing, and we need to keep him that way. The secret was told. The secret was out. The middle brain disappeared. Nona unraveled. What the fuck is happening? Why was that? That was a secret? Seems a little anticlimactic. The first thing that happened was that a big slit opened up above her baby heart. She gushed up blood against the front of her black shirt, then more slits through her middle, then in and out of her mortal insides, her unshapely organs. All the stuff inside her guts was hammered through. She was slit 1,000 times, 1,000,000. Her skin erupted in blood through all the pores of her face. It poured out behind the backs of her knees, her ears, her armpits. Anything glandular. She choked up blood. Both the Tower Princes had whirled around, dropped down to their knees beside her. One said, Her neck, get her neck! But as fast as she could be stitched together, she came apart. The baby body was coming apart. Why does she keep calling it that? A slim brown hand was at her cheek. Keep it together. Wherever you are, idiot, I know you can hear me. Keep it together. Above their voices in the blood and the dim sweetness of the pain, she heard Paul say, Pyrrha, go. A gunshot. A pale yellow figure. The pale yellow figure crumpled over next to Nona's bust-up body, covered in Nona's fluids. She jerked and went into a spasmodic fit, shuddering and juddering as though she could somehow vibrate out of her skin. Paul dropped to Nona's side with a clinical glance at Crown's frothing, screaming sister and said nothing more than, effective. I was saving that bullet for John, said Pyrrha. Herald bullets don't grow on trees. Wake made that for me. Or I stole it from her. Same difference. Paul, is there still... Paul sounded detached, strange, above her. It was as though she were underwater. She yearned to be underwater. Open the door, they said, now. Nona felt herself lifted. Cariona's arms beneath her shoulders, Pyrrha's beneath her hips. Why were they carrying her that way? Why was Pyrrha saying, keep her arm? Paul, her arm's coming off. The rock... Why is she literally just, like, falling apart? Like a broken porcelain figure, but bloodier. The rock loomed so big above, so awful in the electric light. There were so many people standing above her, her body, the baby's body. The baby with the big black eyes, the scrap of meat with the purple mouth. Oh, I guess Alecto calls Hera a baby because she's small. Pyrrha was saying, this isn't the real entrance, right? It can't be. And someone, the old soldier, was saying, no, the true rock, so it is said, is down a corridor. But I can't lift this, I'm no adept. An enormous sound, the rock, rolling away. A great grinding noise. Paul saying, no problem. Not a problem, but the old man hoarsely, the traps, the thieves' traps, the snares. Again, Paul, let me. She had been down this corridor. She had squeezed through this crack in the rock. Not a passageway, not at that point. John had told her he had something to show her. He had said, it's very pretty. You'll like it. Fucking asshole. Paul's voice. Again, Camilla's voice, Palamides' voice. Most of them are disabled. Neat work, whoever did it. Harrow, I'm assuming. Maybe the body blacked out. The next thing she heard was Cariona urgently saying, take it from anywhere, take it all. Take all of it. My lady, the old man was saying feebly, my lady, my girl child. I don't need all of it, but I need to keep it wet. Pierre was saying, you can't spoof this. Cass and Mercy and I worked on cell Thanergy. We need Thanergy, fresh Thanergy to activate. John loved her. She was John's cavalier. She loved John. For she so loved the world that she had given them John. For the world so loved John that she had been given. For John had so loved her that he had made her she. For John had loved the world. Not really. He liked the idea of being able to remake it himself. Kill me, said Cariona. No, you're dead, said Paul. You won't produce a reaction. Me, said Pierre. Take me and Gideon. If Wake had just asked me, I might have done it in the first place. Died here with her for this. How romantic. But also don't! Please! Take me, you fools, said Crux. She hadn't come on purpose. The scrap of black-eyed meat had asked for it. The chain of a kiss. The ice that burnt the flesh off the mouth had stuck to the mouth that was frozen. The teardrop on the hand that John had fashioned. What? She hadn't come where on purpose? To the body? No wonder it's the language of the mouth and the hands. I am very emotional right now. Okay, purple, I guess. Didn't come on purpose. Scrap of black-eyed meat had asked for it. Black-eyed meat. Alecto, be nicer. To the girl. The chain of a kiss. That's so interesting, especially since she's literally chained up. Someone said something. The old man, Crux, the child Crux, barely 100 years old, was saying hoarsely, fix me, and I am taken by the unknown. Kill me, for the love of the reverend daughter. Oh, do you think you are the only one who knows how to die, Nav? I knew you were dead to see you. I will commit this apocalyptic sin. I will die for her. She is my nursling. I am the only one who knows how to die for the reverend daughter, Harrowhark Nona Jesimus. Honey, Gideon already died for her, like 2 books ago, but okay. Good, said someone so savagely that it sounded like a new voice altogether. Good, die. Die for her. It's the only goddamn good you'll ever do her. It's all any of you ever knew how to give her. You could have lived for her, but you didn't know how. You never knew what of what. You never knew what of what? W-O-T of W-H-A-T. You talked of, but ran your tongue anyway, said Crux. All our sacrifices are scrimping, the blood of the tomb keeper. Paul was saying, are you certain? Aglamene said, Marshal, you have a duty to Drearber and to the Oss. This is my duty as your... And Cariona, no, I won't let you. And Crux, my rights, I am dying anyway. Oh, just let him go, snarled Cariona. He wants to die, I'll do it. I wanted to do this for years. I've wanted to do this for years. John had said, it's so beautiful. Come and look. You fucking asshole. She had said, there are almost no beautiful things left. Where is Anastasia? Let me talk to Anastasia. Then do it, coward, Crux said. Do it. The knife is before you. The work has been done. Did you know that I'm God's child? Cariona demanded. Did you know that all the things you did, all the shit you pulled, every single thing you did, every lock you snapped off on me, every cuff you put on me, every crappy plate of food that you put in front of me, every word, every look. Did you know I was the real, true blue daughter of the Emperor? I want you to know that. I want you to know what I am. It really is perfect that I just started rereading Gideon. I mean, when I learned who she was in Harrow and came back to Gideon again the second time, I did also notice that part where she was just like, you know, she always dreamed that someone would come and be like, I'm very important, and this is my child, and you hurt her, so I'm gonna kill you. Oh, honey. You remain what you are, said Crux, a worthless millstone hung about my darling's neck. You were born to make her suffer. You died as you lived, Gideon Nab, a disappointment to me and to God. There was a wet, meaty sound. The old man exhaled. It was dark. There was light, bright, cold, electrifying like death, and the noise of another rock, slowly, agonizingly grinding away. And Cariona kept saying, it didn't feel good. Fuck, it didn't feel good. Why didn't it feel good? A rising, hysterical note. Why didn't it feel good? You fucking old, you hideous, cruel, you bastard. Why can't I? Glowworms, she had told John. Technically beetles, said John, but I always loved them. Narrow beetles with long strands hanging off of them, a carpet of shifting, dead winking lights at the top of the grave. Greenish, orangish, yellowish, moving one over another silently, with those long filaments hanging down. Something came off the baby's body, a foot, maybe. Paul jammed it back on. I'm sorry, I have to put an orange there. Paul jammed it back on. And the water, the huge pool of real salt water, where she had knelt and drank. So Electra's always been obsessed with salt water? She moved the baby's body apart from the others. They could not stop her. She stepped into the water. Ah, that was good. The water was ice cold. It froze the baby's heart in its tracks. But she was moving her now and did not need her heart. Someone said, let her go. It's gravity. Let her go. And those voices were dim now. She could no longer distinguish them. Most human voices sounded alike, after all. They were not beautiful. The waters parted for her, and it became possible to walk, crunching through the bones at the bottom. The bones at the bottom? What did they make her think of? John and she had swum to the center hummock rising out of the pool. Not an island, really. Not an island, not really. An outcropping, with the marble pillars, and the marble top, and the long, low marble table. He had said he thought it was a nice place to be, to lie down. She had liked hard things to lie down on. It was hard to endure having a spine, and there she was. A long echo down the tunnel, the lictor with the broken body screaming still in crazed agony, but getting closer. Who? There she was. John had made her so ugly, so unbearably ugly. The terrible face with the terrible arms and legs and the terrible middle part and the terrible hair and the terrible ears, the nose too short, the ears too brief. But there she was, and within her the child, asleep, with the strange sword. The sword, her sword. Her sword, her own edge had been pushed out, her swinging edge, her toy, her plain-bladed sword. and her body was chained up. What the fuck? The lictor with the broken body, screaming still in crazed agony, but getting closer. We don't know if that's the past or the present, do we? No! Someone howled from the shore. No, no! She looked back beyond, and she saw Anastasia. Oh. I really should have just kept reading, and I would have found out again! Tucked where nobody would find her, Anastasia all bones. Not really Anastasia, but Anastasia's body without the meat on it, snuggled right into the curve of the rock, ready to close the door whenever it was opened. She remembered Anastasia. Her vision swam, her heart was in her throat. Well, happy birthday to me, I guess, sighed Nona. And Nona tumbled back onto the icy dead breast of the body. If it ends, I know there's still the epilogue, but if it ends like this again, where we don't really know what's happened, I mean, like, it's probably going to, but I'm gonna be emotional about it. It's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but it's okay. Oh, the epilogue is gonna be really short, isn't it? Alright, epilogue with the first house skull. When the rock that had been made meat awoke in a body, it cried out aloud. Rock that had been made meat. Oh, Electo. I'm assuming rock is the earth. Cried aloud, saying, "You." Then it broke the chains that were upon its right wrist, and the right wrist broke with them. It broke the chains that were upon its left wrist, and the left wrist also. So followed the chains upon the right ankle and upon the left, until its arms and its legs and the chains were broken all at once. When it raised its terrible head, the chains around the neck collapsed into dust, and it cried, "Ah, ah, ah." The breaking of the chains and of the bones, one of the children there offered violence to her, appearing on the altar and raising her weapon high. But the black-eyed infant collapsed on the altar, chid her sharply in a clear voice, saying, "What is this that thou wouldst do, Tridentarius? Touch her, and our vow will come to nothing, and I will slay you where you stand." To which the first child says, "Thou knowest not what thou dost." And the second child answered, "Not lately, but now." And the first child asked, "Dost thou oppose me, and thou half dead?" And the second child said, "I am as one half dead, but you would be 2 halves dead, bitch." To which the first child said, "My sweet, I only die of longing for thee." And the other said, "Then perish." Of course we have to have mean. Upon which the body that had been the rock rose from the altar and struck the child who had offered violence to her with one broken hand, forgetting the sword in the other, so that the child who offered violence was not slain, but was cast into the water like a detestable thing. And many skeletons emerged from the bones of the bier and from the walls of the tomb, and when the sword was raised, they fled. When the broken feet touched the stone around the tomb, they were mended, and when the broken hands raised the sword, they were mended also. But the body itself was not fully awake, and stumbled on the steps of the bier, crying, "John, John," but did not fall. And there was a crowd of dead children there. They were striving loudly against living children on the far-off shore of the tomb. The body did not understand how this had come to pass, yet when one on the shore called, "Electo, Electo," then the body remembered, and was mightily dashed in the memory of Electo, so that all their sleep was perished with a noise. My God, this is confusing, but I love it. And Electo said, "Pyrrha, he laid me down as an appeasement to them. He fed you to them as an appeasement to them, but he has never appeased me, and now all he has done was teach me how to die." Interesting. But Pyrrha did not hear above the noise. Then Electo remembered the vow and turned back upon the altar to face the second child and raise the sword with wrath in her heart, for they meant to bring destruction upon her. But when the black-eyed infant showed their countenance to Electo, Electo recalled her, for it was the face once dreamed in Electo's dream, and Electo stayed the sword. The child rose and said, "O course of the locked tomb, I have loved thee all my life, with mine whole soul and with mine whole strength. I would to God that I find grace in thy eyes. Destroy me according to thy word, for I love thee." Electo was angry, and raised her up, and kissed her. The child did not cry out, though blood fell from her lips and tongue, and she was wounded sore, for Electo knew not how to kiss, except such as involved the mouth and teeth. No, it does not. I mean, it can, I guess, but no, not really, honey, but okay. Electo said to her, "Why are you not appeased? That This... that is how meat loves meat! The child was silent, but her blood was on Alecto's lips, and through that blood, Alecto was made to understand what it was, and was astonished exceedingly. Alecto put away wrath and said, "Thou art the blood of the tomb keeper." The child answered, "Yes." Alecto said, "The line of Anastasia is unbroken yet." The child answered, "Through sin and iniquity, yes." Alecto said, "I am very sorry about Samael." The child made no answer. Alecto said, "I remember my vows. As I swore to Anastasia, I swear to you. I am in your service until you bid me the favor, and whatsoever you appoint I shall perform, and consider the vow rendered. This is what I promise until such a time as you deal with me as you see fit." The child was afraid and said, "My hands are too stained, and I am too lowly." So Alecto, wearied of talking, kneeled upon the rock and offered up the sword to her, and placed the child's hand upon the blade, so that it received also the red blood of the child. This made the child exceedingly faint, but it did not swoon of weariness. Which strength pleased Alecto, who said, "Notwithstanding, I offer you my service." To which a voice on the opposite side of the shore was raised, exceeding wroth, and Alecto heard it shout in a very great shout, "Get in line, thou big slut!" Gideon, I love you! Afterward, Alecto went down to the ship and stood before John, purposing to travel through the river, and was grieved to find it yet dead. John was asleep and not in his garments, unshaved and still drunken. The child who accepted the blade and thereupon fainted with hunger and thirst was thrown over one of Alecto's arms, a deep sleep like death upon her. Why? And in Alecto's other hand was the iron sword, and so Alecto took that iron sword and with one hand pierced John's chest with it, even to the heart. At which John awakened and said, "Annabelle, good morning." What the fuck is happening? That's it! That's it! That's it! It just says, "Hell will break loose in Alecto the Ninth." I mean, I really should have known better than to hope for a Harrow and Gideon reunion. But I hoped anyway, because that's what I do. At least we actually got some Harrow, you know? I can't get over the fact that Alecto was like, "All right, this is how you kiss, right? With your mouth and your teeth?" Oh, God. My head is just reeling. Get in line, you big slut. Good for you, Gideon. Good for you. First get Gideon, like, her actual body back, please. You got, like, 3 lictors in there, or, like, 2 lictors and a planet, so, come on. Come on. But apparently she thought it more important to drag Harrow's unconscious corpse through the river to stab John, I'm assuming in the tower. I mean, we all have our priorities, I guess. Went down to the ship and stood before John, proposing to travel through the river, and was grieved to find it yet dead. The river, or the ship. I guess, I mean, I was just kind of assuming he was in the tower, but the tower might be a ship. I don't know, okay? We don't have this, I don't have this information. Accepted the blade and fainted with hunger and thirst. Oh, honey. Oh, my God. I'm gonna go back to the first book soon, where everyone's, you know, alive for now, and separate people. Probably gonna end up buying the audiobook, but we'll see. But I know that the narrator is fantastic, so I can't wait for that. I hope I wasn't too bad a narrator. An impromptu narrator. I hope you enjoyed this. I don't know if I'm going to do it again. I mean, I'm probably going to do it again. I don't know what with. Considering doing it with the Priory or the Orange Tree, but that's so long. I mean, I guess I can compare it and see how long it is compared to this. But I know because I haven't read it, but I've heard a lot of things about it and a lot of people liked it, so maybe. We'll see. Though I might get in line now, big slut. The caption. Gideon, I love you. Nona, I'll miss you. I hope you come back. Can we get like a fused version? Like both? Was the secret that the way he tricked her? Or that he had loved her? When was it that Nona started dissolving? He loves her. John loves Electo. John needs Electo. Without that goddamn piece of fridge meat, he's nothing. And we need to keep him that way. What do you mean keep him that way? He does have her, like, connected. Oh! I'm smart. Yeah, but you can't keep her inside Harrow's body, so I don't know what she was referring to there. So I'm assuming when Nona was in Nona Electo, I'm going to call her Nona because I like Nona. When Nona was in Harrow's body, she was not accessible to John, I'm guessing. Which is probably why he wasn't about doing things and was like, go off, my children. Do things for me. The secret was told, the secret was out, the middle brain disappeared, Nona unraveled. Nona, I love you. Nona, I love you. Oh god. Okay, I probably need to go, like, make dinner. Yeah, it's 5:30. Oh god. I just want to, like, hang out in bed. Maybe I'll order takeout. As consolation. Wow. When's the next one? I remember feeling exactly like this, but probably not as bad, after I finished Harrow for the first time. And there wasn't even a name for the third book yet. Like, Electo the Ninth was not out in the world, or at least in Goodreads. It just said, you know, unnamed novel. Whatever it says when they put in a book there that's like, you know, it's gonna be there, but they don't know the name yet. I mean, now I know the name, and there's like a tagline or whatever. But when? It's been such a long time since I was reading books, like, while they were coming out. So it's very, strange. I hope this video isn't too long. I might split it, but we'll see. Bye.